Hello again. Welcome to another Toku Ramblings, the first Toku Ramblings of the year. We have a well, we have a beginning with the beginning of the year here with Ultraman Tiga, the first Heisei Ultraman series after over a decade without one, and just the sporadic international film or pilot that tried to get a show off the line, and Tsuburaya basically being a shell of what it used to be. Also, the 30th anniversary for the franchise as a whole, and I promised myself going into this I would not try to make too many comparisons to Kuga. I mean, I don't feel like it's fair to compare the two because obviously they're aiming for different things. But I can say that I liked Tiga. Especially after I had watched Trigger, which tried to be a new generation, but didn't really succeed all that well, but that's not about that. So, in the distant future of 2007 to 2010, it was distant for the mid-90s. Most people thought we were going to have flying cars by 2015, and that didn't happen. Anyway, the world begins to be plagued by giant monsters and aliens either bent on our mindless destruction or conquering the planet. Right. To counter that threat, the Terrestrial Peaceable Consortium, or TPC, alongside the Global Unlimited Task Squad are founded to defend the planet. Right. One day, researchers find a capsule that contains a hologram of a person named Yuzure who tells them about a golden pyramid built by an ancient civilization, and within said pyramid are three giants. When Guts goes to investigate, amongst them is member Daigo Madoka. They are attacked by a duo of monsters that seemingly wreck the statues, but Daigo fuses with one of them to become Tiga. It's revealed by the actual not hologram Yuzure that he is actually a descendant of the giants who had protected the planet for years, and now is the new person to protect the planet. And that's really not a synopsis of the show, that's more just a very abridged recap of the first episode. Tiga's story is... what story? There really is, it is a fairly episodic show going forward of alien that comes down, one side to destroy things, or not. Guts goes out to stop them. Daigo transforms into Tiga to help save the day. Heck, he actually starts the series with all of his forms, well, besides the powered-up forms, but he does. When it's like, the show is just like, oh yeah, here's how we define Tiga between multi, power, and Skype. That also kind of is the big issue, is that that the episodic nature can be monotonous. With no villain or anything to keep track of, it kind of just makes things feel like there's just going about the day-to-day things. And yes, a lot of Ultramen do mostly focus on just the episodic narrative of the things, but take X, for example. It is also a very episodic show with not a major plot, but there is the mystery behind X coming to the planet and what he fought beforehand that caused everything to happen. There is a hook. There is something to keep you watching. Tiga is very show influence, and you can feel in the very episodic nature of it, but it can also hurt it. If you really wanted to, you probably could skip some, but there are actually a lot of really great, really solid episodes, helped by a cast that's not my favorite, but still really solid, and that kind of starts with Daigo. He's a very nice guy who wants to do right, and thrust into this new weird world he's been trusted with. I do like how in the second episode he shows frustration about the whole situation, that he doesn't want to do it, but ultimately accepts this role as the protector of the planet. But he kind of gets the shaft in terms of focus episodes. Kind of being the main character means he's, well, always going to be there. So that kind of means he doesn't really get much fun. Okay, so that makes him, I hate to say this, a little bland. He gets some stuff during the evil Tiga arc when his power is stolen by another descendant of the Warriors of Light and he becomes evil and his feeling of worthlessness until he ultimately understands that it's the person that makes the Ultra and not the powers themselves. Standard stuff. I didn't hate him, but I also wasn't big on him. That leads to the rest of Guts, which again are, I think, perfectly really good. It's more, I kind of more feel like talking about them around the focus episodes I really like about them. So, obviously, as Daigo's initial not girlfriend, but totally will become the girlfriend by the end of the series, Rain. The ace pilot of the group, and daughter of the original Ultraman's actor, I think? Yeah, I think I'm right about that. I think her chemistry with Daigo is also really good, and the cast does all have real good chemistry. I know I'm rambling, but that's kind of like, I have all my thoughts not collected, but just like notes pointed of what specifically. Like, I liked the episode with her around the dolphins. I thought that was really good, and her reconciling with her father. The zoo episode also was really nice, and that it was a different take on the monster not being evil or just mindless, but it was just wanting to be left alone, and I liked how that ended and how she tried to show more compassion. Also, just her figuring out that Daigo was T. You go like, no big buildup, but just like, yeah, I know for like a while that you've been doing this. That's nice. I like that. It's a good character moment to show that she's actually smart, and I will give credit compared to the new Guts to her triggers that this is an actually competent team who does. I wouldn't call them competent. It's just they actually get things to do and actually do pretty well against the monster. So they're not having to focus entirely on Tiga. I also like that we have a female captain rather than a male one, and she was probably the one I really liked the most. I liked how how some of her focus was on her family between her son and grandmother. It helped that her focus episodes also had some of the few recurring villains Tiga did have, which was nice. Nice to have some kind of recurring threat that we know and can more or less hate. I like the whole she's the descendant of Yuzure. It's not too important that she really doesn't have powers, it's just that she's really stir. And she does not take nonsense with the covering up of Bia. Yes, with the Mirage Monster episode. So that's what this series is, I feel that it does best. It takes the cast members and gives them their moments to shine. Even if it's just like one moment, like with the second in command Munakata, whose big episode is 33 with the vampire cult. Well, that was really good. I thought he was, again, fine. Maybe a little forgettable. Hori, I think, had probably the most, well, he had the, it kind of felt like some of his focus did kind of bleed in, because he has the relationship with, his relationship with Mithu is something that's revisited into Mary at the end of like her last like at the end of one of his focus episodes. So, which I really liked. It was nice and it was sweet. So he's the smart guy of the group, so a lot of his episodes deal with him studying or trying to understand monsters or dealing with other scientists who fall into that. Again, yeah, there was that. Shinjo is the big tough guy of the group, but he also has a sort of sweet side that we see with kids and other things. Mostly, weirdly, he's the one who gets the episodes that are focused around, like, helping kids. Like, in the park episode, when This one kid gets bullied, or in the Human Collectors episode. So, he was also really, really solid. Yeah. I also thought he was good. Over. Overall. We also see a bit of his sister too, which again it's nice to see more to them than just them doing their work. It's not often, but it's nice, especially with him being the God, I really am rambling on this one. Probably besides Munakata, Yuzumi was the most forgettable, the teen genius of the group who just stands behind the base and analyzes the weaknesses of the monster and stuff like that. The big thing about his focus episodes, like, the big two I remember is the one with Shinjo's sister, and then the time-traveling girl who he later meets, whom he helps to find out where exactly it is. Like, that's sort of the issue with this season, is that there's no development or, like, change for the character. That's always the issue with, like, seasons that are mostly not developing or, like, showing a change in characters. Because some seasons have, like, you know, the one who doesn't get development or kind of is put on the back burner. But this is a very Showa-inspired season, so they're all very much the standard character, and I brought it up. The issue is that it's mostly just Monsters of the Week. There's no overarching big bad here. There are a few who get, like, additional appearances or notable things. There's the Kyriloids, these aliens that want to rule over the planet. Yeah, the planet. Boy, it's there. A good hate scene. Who more or less tries to paint Tiga as the devil. I liked Gazort, or there were some interesting things, and they appeared a couple of times for what they're kind of like that. And Amina in the episode, which appeared with the one monster that kind of weirdly became sort of a mascot. I don't know how that happened, but it did. There is sort of like a villain who kicks off the end, like the evil Tiga, Kaigo Masaki, this corporate CEO, the corrupt CEO, who wants to become a god with the powers, and like he has this big plan to become Tiga by taking thing, but it mostly just is there to kick off like the end of the season. And then, like, okay, we need to start wrapping up. We're almost near the end of the season, because he ultimately comes back later now, just a good guy assisting, and even the Kyriloids show up like, yeah, we're leaving, screw you, this planet's boned. Again, that's sort of my big issue, is that it's not like the modern seasons where it's like 25 episodes. No, it's 50. And not all of them are going to be hits. There are the great ones. I really liked episode 21 with the little troop. The final episode for the Kyriloid is really great. I like Aruma and her mother-in-law. And that the Kyriloids learn from their previous thing. The zoo episode's really great, and I also really like, and a great comparison to like how Trigger didn't really work this out, but like the episode where Daigo travels back in time to like when Ultraman was originally being shot, and like him teaming up with the original. In Trigger, it was just something that was done because hey, it was done in Trigger. Let's do it again. Here, it feels like it's we've been on this long journey. We've seen Tiga. we've seen Tiga grow, well, not grow, but like we've seen that he is able to stand with the Sakura. And this is just a like fun little one last hurrah before we get to like the actual final story bits. But yeah, I could. The thing is, this would mostly just be me listing every episode I liked or disliked. I guess if the least favorite one was just the whole Boy Who Cried Wolf episode 24. Wasn't fun with that. Aesthetically, I think the season does do really good. The monsters are all wholly unique, and I think they all look good, setting up the classic 6 shows instead of just doing all monsters and pointing at them to more or less remember them for being cool. Tiga's design, I think, is really good. The addition of blue helps to balance things out, and I like that either the red or... Is it blue or is it purple? I can never tell. Like, when he changes forms, it more or less becomes more red for power and more purple for sky. Now that being said, there is a very clear favoritism towards power type and sky type. Cost thing, probably. I don't know how much money they were able to pull together, but more or less continuously doing the flyby shots would not have been probably good for the budget. And, yeah, this season definitely has some of that 90s, obvious age of mid-90s. There's some not good CGI, but there's still some really great miniature work and choreography. See? Before we go, there is obviously the movies. Well, the movie plus special, which is kind of weird because when you think movies, they generally come out close to when the show aired, but in Tiga's case, this came out like after Gaia had aired, so it was a bit, but Final Odyssey is kind of nothing really. Let's get the big positive. I like the additional lore aspects we get here, like Tiga being, formerly an evil giant, before he became good with Yuzure. That's kind of neat. The main movie is mostly just one long fight thing with some initial drama about Daigo being tortured by Tiga's former lover, Kamehara. And after they're released by probably the dumbest Gut Select leader I think I've ever seen when he just releases them. Irima seals them on the eye. But after just setting up what's going on here, it's mostly just the big things like the fight scene at the end. And Daigo and Ren kind of deal with their relationship issues they have before Daigo goes on his own, before the others go and join him to help. But the new villains are just fine. They're given very basic personalities. Kamehara gets the most because she has the most Deram was formerly Tiga's best friend, and Hydra was just a psychopath. But she's just a crazy young. It's my issue in that the Saint series that just goes on for too long. It's an hour and 35 minutes, but I don't think it has the plot for half of that. And I kind of prefer the guided movie revival of the Ancient Giant, which sort of feels like a weird end for this era, like the TDG trilogy. Since so it doesn't star Daigo, but his son Tsubasa as part of Neo Super Guts, or New Super Guts, on his way back for a mission when he's attacked by a kaiju and sent back into the past, being part of the legend that Tiga started. It's definitely an interesting film. Trading at the sci-fi for fantasy adventure, it almost doesn't feel like Tiga, like Ultraman. And there's really not much in terms of giants fighting one another, and more focusing on the human aspect of fighting. But yeah, this notably has a lot of appearances from actors who appeared in this and the other two shows, except Daigo, because the actor kind of got a little too big, so he couldn't appear. And I learned that this show had a lot of issues regarding, like, in getting DVD releases because of copyright stuff with the songs and stuff, and it's a big confusing mess. So instead we get basically Daigo in a new character form. He's basically his father, since Hiroshi Nagano couldn't appear for scheduling reasons. I probably contradicted myself. It doesn't really feel like they rewrote it, since Tsubasa believes he can unlock Tiga's power, not like having a bit of concern of he could live up to the legend. It's just like, oh, I'm tentatively the child of this person, maybe I could do it. And it's not like he is, he ultimately is able to do that. That instead falls to the young boy he friends on Mue, who goes through a similar Daigo, who goes through sort of the same thing that Daigo went through in the first episode, and no one believes him, and then he becomes sort of the protector by becoming Tiga. As like something to watch at the end of all of this to see how we got here, it's definitely an interesting and worthwhile watch, if not just for the unique setting. It has a standard evil sorcerer or plotline, but overall, it's a fairly solid, I think the better movie of the two. And I probably just rambled on and on. But that's sort of the issue I have with seasons that are mostly episodic and don't really have definitive character arcs or like villains to like go over. But I would still give Tiga the definitive recommendation. Maybe if you don't have the time to watch every episode, like get a list of, maybe ask a friend who does watch Toku to tell you what episodes are worth and not worth watching. Next time we have the last of Inui's writer work. Now that's gonna be fun for the comments, or me getting thumbs down. As always, do the things to keep me in the algorithm. Subscribe, comment, click the button, and see you around.